Hi, I'm David Seaborg. I'm an evolutionary biologist, and I'd like to talk to you about a book that I wrote called How Life Increases Biodiversity, an Autocatalytic Hypothesis. And here is my book. And it is about a hypothesis that I have, and I call the hypothesis the Autocatalytic Biodiversity Hypothesis. It's also called the Pachamama Hypothesis, following the lead of naming such hypotheses after goddesses, because the one that is similar to my hypothesis is the Gaia hypothesis. So my hypothesis postulates that organisms create higher biodiversity, the ecosystems maximize biodiversity, and that all species are ecosystem engineers which have a net positive effect on other species, on biodiversity, and on their ecosystems in natural ecosystems over a sufficient period of time. And this means that it has to be a natural system that does not have human effects. So some examples of this would be that organisms have created the high oxygen content of the earth through photosynthesis and through burial of reduced carbon when organisms are buried, and that organisms have controlled the temperature of the earth through geological time, because the sun is about 30% hotter than when life began, and volcanoes have spewed out the major greenhouse gas, carbon dioxide. But organisms, by being buried, have buried and sequestered carbon from the biosphere, keeping the main greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide and methane, out of the atmosphere and regulating climate. And yet, when the sun was much colder in the beginning, organisms created methane, which is 30 times as powerful a greenhouse gas as carbon dioxide, and kept the planet warm for life when there were only microbes present. Another aspect of my book is that predators, by eating the prey that is the best competitor, increase biodiversity. They do increase biodiversity many other ways. Herbivores also increase biodiversity by eating the better competing plants. And plants greatly increase biodiversity by holding in the soil, producing oxygen, providing food for animals, and so on. And so there are many mechanisms by which species increase biodiversity. A large aspect of the theory is that symbiosis, where two species help each other, such as a pollinating insect that gets nectar from a flower and pollinates the flower so that the flower can reproduce, so both species help each other. That symbiosis is, in fact, a tremendous mechanism of increasing biodiversity. Symbiosis evolves through coevolution. For example, the original plant that evolved into the flowering plant was wind-pollinated conifer, and its pollen was eaten by a beetle. And the beetle and the conifer slowly co-evolved until the conifer evolved a flower that could better attract the beetle by producing nectar and producing a nice smell that attracted the beetle, and evolved colorful flower. And the beetle became better at obtaining the nectar and at pollinating. So through this process of coevolution, so came pollination, and once that came in one species, that opened up a whole new adaptive zone where there were many, many new unfilled niches, and this allowed the beetle and the flower to evolve and fill those niches and diversify filling the niches, making many, many more species. And eventually other animals evolved as pollinators, such as bees and butterflies, and then later birds and primates and so on. And so many, many other pollinators diversified, and flowers diversified with them. And then from there, many other species evolved to take advantage of benefits from the new species of insects and other pollinators and the many species of flowering plants that evolved. Another aspect of the book is that competition between species actually increases biodiversity. It increases the number of species because two competing species evolve away from each other to better reduce the competition between them. So if you have two bird species that are eating the same species of seeds, they tend to evolve with one species taking larger seeds and evolve larger beaks, and the other species will tend to take smaller seeds of the same species of plant and evolve smaller beaks, and they will therefore evolve away from each other and coexist without one sending the other extinct. The book also has 8 principles of evolution and ecology that I propose. So I think you will find the book very, very innovative and new and original and interesting, and I would like to have you buy the book. And you can buy the book by getting in touch with the publisher, which is CRC Press, or by getting in touch with me by emailing me at DAVID, S like Sam, E like Edward, A, B like boy, ORG like go, 888 at gmail.com.